Good morning, Statesmen Nation. It's Wade Steinlogie, Assistant Athletic Director for Communications here at William Penn, bringing you our every other week or so press conference here. Today we are joined by several winter coaches as we have officially switched over seasons now here at William Penn, but going around the board here, we've got Aaron Scott, men's wrestling coach in the top left, Tucker Black, women's wrestling coach in the top right, Alexis Lake, senior women's bowler. And in the bottom left, Kirsten Foster. In the bottom middle, the women's bowling coach, and then Sam Parsons from KBOE KMZN joining us as our media member today. So, Sam, without further ado, I'm sure you've got a busy schedule. I know all the coaches have another meeting in a little bit. So, do you have any questions for anybody? Otherwise, I'll get it rolling.
Sure. I guess I'll start with Alexis here if she got there first. Alexis, saw that you had that you were named a Hart Bowler of the Week for the first time in your career as a senior here. Just wanted to ask what that meant for you as far as, the career that you've had to this point and finally seeing it culminate in some recognition like that.
It meant a lot. I told myself that I would make one all tournament team going into my senior year, and I gave it all I had this weekend, and I was able to pull it off. We've had a really good season as far as the women's team goes, and we're going to continue to have a good season.
Right. You hit it right there. You guys have had a great season so far. I'll ask Kirsten more about this in a second, but just to get your perspective, again, being one of the senior leaders on this team, how does it feel to be where you guys are right now after, four good finishes to start the season, and just what's the vibe like with the team?
I feel like our team chemistry this year is better than it ever has been. I feel like we've been rebuilding for a couple years. When I came in my freshman year, me and Gabby were the only two freshmen. And then sophomore year, like everyone left because they all graduated. So we've been rebuilding this team for a couple years now, and I feel like we're finally at the point where we can make some school history. And I told Gabby at the beginning of the season that this was going to be our season as a women's team, and we're going to make some school history, and that's what we're here to do.
And Kirsten, to bring you into this, the Warhawk Open was your best finish of the year so far. Have you noticed any growth with your team as in the early going here, a couple months into the season?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. One of the things, and I told the girls this Saturday night, because after we compete on Saturday, we have a team meeting, and then we'll go into Sunday with a different game plan if need be. But on Saturday night, we were talking about it, and one of the things I brought up was just how patient they were. And I know that sounds weird in a athletic aspect, but they were, throughout the day Saturday, they were just patient with their shot making. They didn't, if a shot didn't react the way they thought it was going to, there wasn't any panic. It was just, okay, it didn't work. What's the move? So, and then this past week with practice, they were so intentional with what they were doing with their practice time. Like we only get so many hours with them each week. And each of them are all working on something very different with their game. And so we try to partner up with someone that might be in the same ballpark with what they're working on, but that's not always the easiest thing to do. But it's like throughout practice, they were practicing on different patterns and different sport shots, and they were intentional with what they were doing. So even though they were working on that sport shot, they were also focusing on their physical game aspects that they've been working on and trying to make those improvements. And honestly, it was one of the best weeks of practice I had seen out of them this season so far. I was talking to Cameron after our Tuesday's practice, and I pegged Tuesday that Alexis was getting all tournament team this weekend. Her shot making was just phenomenal. She was, she's been working on a couple different things, and after the shots where maybe they weren't quite in line, she knew it. She would turn around and was like, no, my push weight wasn't right. My timing was off. And it's, kind of working on that technical aspect of the game, but also the feel aspect. And I think a lot of that's starting to come into alignment with a lot of the girls.
I also wanted to ask, what, from your perspective, what makes this team different from last year's team? Like I said, the results this year have just been great. What have you noticed as far as, like I said, just what is the difference between this year's team and last year's?
There's a couple differences that I've seen. The first part is the team chemistry. Although the team chemistry was good last year, they didn't really fully click until NAIA Nationals. And you saw it on the lanes. Their shot making was phenomenal. They were acting crazy with their energy. They were, through the roof with their energy. Even when they were bowling bad, they were still loud. So you really saw it come together at NAIA Nationals, and they're just continuing on with that this year. So, they're having that great team chemistry right off the bat, which is, it's hard to do because we're adding in new pieces. We lost a couple of seniors, we added in some new freshmen. So you never know what that's going to look like coming into the season, but they've transitioned seamlessly. It's like they picked up where they left off. And then the other part I've noticed, and I didn't really think about it until this morning, is the accountability. Last year, a lot of the accountability was coming from, Bailey and I. So if we're like, you said you were going to do this and you didn't do it. So now here's the repercussions, or, you said you're going to do this and you exceeded those expectations. Great job. Here's your reward. And the difference that I'm seeing this year is they're holding themselves accountable. They're coming back after like a practice and they're like, that wasn't a good practice. I wasn't doing this right. What can I do to get better? Perfect example this weekend. After this weekend, Alexis had a great performance, Sydney had a great performance, Gabby, all the girls had a great performance, and they're the first ones coming up to me. What do I need to work on? What can I improve on? And I love to see that because they're not settling. They took second qualifying, they took second in match play, and that was not enough. They were frustrated. They were like, oh, if we would have done this, if we could have done this, we could have been there. So I think that's probably the biggest one, in that accountability is working well with their drive and their energy right now. So that's kind of why I said in the one article that drive outweighs the lows, because even though they were low after finishing second, their first thought was, I need to work on this. I'm not okay with this. I'm not settling for this. And it's going to take them far. I'm excited to see what they do.
Okay, thank you, Wade. That was all I had for the women's bowling folks.
Wade, you're muted.
Yeah, I know. I just noticed that. I started going and I'm like, sound like I've never done Zoom before, but Kirsten, one final question for you. Well, actually, I'm going to ask Alexis here to put her back in the hot seat. Alexis, you guys have had a really great depth this year. From everywhere, from yourself, Gabby's, had some nice outings. Sydney White-Leather has been playing well. Isabel Diaz, Pilcher, across the board. Seems like a new person every week is stepping up for you guys. But how does that, set you guys up for success moving forward, knowing, that anybody's capable of stepping up at any given time?
I feel like this year, more than ever, we all feel like we can trust each other. And so if, say, I'm not doing the best, I know like my teammates will help and pick me up. And I think we're all so comfortable with each other this year, which is pretty crazy because being on a women's team, like that doesn't always happen. But we're finally to that point where we trust each other. Like, okay, if I'm not doing good, like the person right after me, they'll pick me up. And we're just having a great season, and we're going to continue to have a good season and make some school history.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Alexis. I'm sure you've got to get ready for other finals. So if you either one of you want to dip out, I guess Kirsten, you can't dip out because Cam's got to stay on your camera, but you can, I guess. All right, Sam, let's move forward here. You got a couple of wrestling coaches, and Coach Friesen from track and field has also joined us. So and now Cam Foster is also on the screen. So your pick of the litter here, Sam.
Okay, I'll go to men's wrestling here because that's the tab that I have open. So Aaron, first time I'm catching up with you since the start of the season, about a month into the season, I guess. Just a super general question. Just how do you feel about where the team is at right now, and just what have been your general observations about a month in here?
Yeah, I would say we're pretty pleased with where we're at. We know that we haven't really competed our best, but our guys have been wrestling really well, and there's just a few minor technical adjustments that we need to make here, because in our training and our focus, we want to peak and be at our best in February and March. So we know that we're going to be a little rusty. We're going to make a few mistakes here and there, and the other thing that we've found too is that sometimes in matches and in duels, our performance has suffered because of our lack of energy and enthusiasm. And when we bring the excitement and we bring the fight, we compete really well. And that's what these guys are noticing. And we've got three young guys starting out for us at the beginning of our lineup, and very early on, they've done a very good job, and I'm proud of those guys. And, they stepped up a lot in these duels here, and that kind of sets the tone, and the rest of the team can respond in a positive way and kind of keep that going. So having those guys wrestling with poise has really helped this team as well. So we know that we're better than what we've performed so far. We know we've got to make some adjustments, but so far we're happy with what we've seen.
Also wanted to ask, as I was looking at your schedule, looks like there's a bit of a break in between now and your the next time you guys are going to be in action. So what's the focus going to be on in practice, or what has it been on in the time since you guys last suited up in practice, and just what areas are you working to improve at?
Yeah, so right now we're just trying to get healthy. We've had some sickness kind of hit the team. We've had some injuries here and there. So right now we're just trying to get back healthy. We had a pretty grueling schedule there in November. We had a little bit of a break for Thanksgiving, and then we had a competition every other day. So that's pretty grueling and beats up on the body, especially when you have to make weight and still compete at a high level. So right now we're just trying to get and then being, changing the weather, when you start cutting weight and you're competing, that compromises your immune system. So it's easier for someone to get sick and then just go right through your team. So right now we're focusing on getting healthy and healing up those injuries. And then that'll give us some time to come back after break here and then hit the ground running again.
Okay, thanks. That was all I had for Aaron Wade.
Okay. Hey, Coach, with regards to the Missouri Valley duels that was supposed to happen, is that a good thing or a bad thing that is now not on your schedule, considering, now that you've seen some of the injuries and some of the illness and stuff on the team?
Yeah, it's probably, well, you always deal with adversity, and you always want to try to make whatever happen to be the best thing to happen. Am I a little disappointed? Yeah, I was looking forward to getting a couple more duels, but right now we could use the break, like we were talking earlier with some guys beat up, banged up, and some sickness running through the team. This will help us out. And a lot of times when we try to get those extra matches, we're looking at seeing people we don't normally see getting into the rankings. Right now we're doing pretty good. So this is and if you're kind of not at 100%, it could be a bad thing getting those extra matches with some tough guys. So we'll make sure that this is the best thing that happened, for the team so far. We'll alter our training schedule, so it's going to be on me and the coaching staff to make sure that we make those adjustments in our training and to make sure that these guys are prepared and ready to go come here after break.
All right. Definitely. All right. Thanks, Coach. Sam, all right. We still got 3 on the board. So who are we picking?
I guess let's go to women's wrestling here. Let's switch over to that. Tucker, like a similar question to Aaron, because I haven't caught up with you since the start of the season. What's your read on where your team is right now, and what have been your general observations through about a month of the schedule?
Yeah, I think this year we've probably had a little bit more consistency than we've had in the past. I think a lot of that comes with just having, more girls wrestling, a fuller lineup. I'll say that we haven't had our I don't think we've had our final lineup in there yet. We've done a lot of rotating, getting different girls matches. We've like Coach Scott, we've dealt with more than our fair share of injuries and stuff like that. But as we go on, like the girls that are traveling with us right now, they're girls that are doing things right in the practice room and being consistent in the practice room and getting better. And with a side effect or a byproduct of that is just they get closer and closer, and they start to understand why they're doing what they're doing. And when that happens, it becomes more fun to coach them, and it becomes more fun for them because they can see their progress, they can see the full picture. So yeah, I guess in summary, I'm really excited with where we're at right now. Certainly we haven't gotten the results we've wanted, but the girls are moving in the right direction, and I'm really confident that as we move into the final bit of the semester, then go into the second semester, things are starting to fall into place.
I also wanted to ask, because the program itself is young. You've been here since day one with William Penn women's wrestling. As a sanctioned sport, it hasn't been around for super long either. So I just wanted to get your perspective on the progression of this program that you've observed since you came on 3 years ago, compared to where you guys are right now. How do you feel about that?
Yeah. Sometimes it depends on the day how I feel. I really love and care deeply for my athletes. And of course, I have high expectations for them. So when we don't compete to how I think we should compete, my feelings go down. But really on a, zooming out and looking at it, we've come a long way. We're getting the right people in there now. I guess that's the main thing. We've got the right people in the lineup, people who really care, people who are doing or beginning to do things right in the classroom, on the mat, out in the community. So I'm just really encouraged by that we do have a strong foundation, and we've done the tough things early on to make sure that we're set up for future success.
And now you're going to be hosting duels here this
Mhm.
weekend. What's the lineup of competition looking like for that, and what are your expectations for this weekend?
Yeah, so the teams coming in are Ottawa, Midland, Iowa Central, Iowa Western, and Simpson. We're going to be fielding 2 teams, or at least that's the plan right now, to make sure that we can give everybody as many matches as possible. We'll start off with pool play, and then we'll go into placing matches after that. So, due to there being an odd number of teams, one pool, each team will be getting a total of 5 duels on the day, and the other pool, everybody will get a total of 4. So it'll be good competition, good mat time. I'm really excited to bring these teams in and hopefully put on a good tournament.
Okay, thanks, Wade. That was all I had for Tucker.
Awesome. Hey, Coach. Let's talk about the youth on the team and how it's built up, continuing to build up culture and the program where you guys are at this year. How have the new ladies, and it's a big class, how much have they impacted what you're doing moving forward?
Yeah, we've got freshmen in the lineup at 130, 136, 155, and 170. And then we've got some freshmen switching in at 191 and 123 and 116. And then, at the second semester, we'll have a 101 pounder who's a freshman. So, seeing their impact right away, they came in with a pretty solid foundation. A lot of them are having to learn some lessons the hard way. They're having to make some adjustments and make the switch to college wrestling. But with that being said, they all are, they've got a good head on their shoulders. And those ones that are in the lineup making a difference. I'm so encouraged that they're getting these matches in early on. And I think it's really going to pay dividends for them, this year, but also years down the road.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, Sam. We still got Coach Foster, Cam Foster, and Alan Friesen available to talk to.
All right. Well, don't like picking between just two, but let's go to Cam here because I got the men's bowling tab open. Let's go to that. Cam, looking like at the Warhawk Open, kind of a middle of the road finish for that. What were your observations with how the team looked last weekend or just last time you guys were out there, and where your team is right now?
So this last weekend we saw a lot of glimpses of what our team could be when we get towards the end of our season here. Saturday they showed a lot of, who they are. My sophomore Bryce, he stepped up and showed that, he's the bowler that he could be. I think at the start of the season, he put a lot of pressure on himself, a lot of expectations on himself. I think this last weekend, he just kind of went out there and relaxed and finally, showed who he can be. So a lot of huge positives coming from Saturday. The biggest thing I saw is we need to figure out how to carry our momentum from Saturday into Sunday. Baker games in bowling, it's a little bit different. It's a lot harder, a little bit more pressure on our guys because Baker's the way it works is guys are only bowling 2 frames a game at that sense. So it's a little bit more pressure to go out there and make a good shot and try to fill your frame. So that's the biggest thing I'm noticing is they're still putting that pressure on themselves on Sunday. So trying to clean up Sunday a little bit, but I'm excited to see where they're going right now. And they're basically improving from tournament to tournament right now, which is what we wanted.
Now, I'm pretty sure we've talked about this before, but you got a pretty young team as far as your roster is concerned, just the build of your roster. Who have been some of the guys, some of the younger guys that have kind of caught your eye in this season so far?
So like I said, Bryce, he stepped up to where we like to see him at. A couple other guys that are showing a lot of fight and promise. He wasn't on the lost roster, but he'll be on my Vegas roster. Garrity Richmond, he's putting in a lot of work in his game since him and I have been together since last September. And I mean, he entrusted me as his coach and we kind of deconstructed his game and turned it around. And I'm really excited to see where he can take it going into the Vegas tournaments in a couple weeks. Another guy that stepped up. I mean, Jared's filled some shoes. He was on varsity last year, but I mean, he didn't get as many opportunities as probably he should have, but Jared's been showing a lot of fight this year and promise. And I think I get him for 2 more years because of the whole COVID thing. So I'm excited to have him. I got a couple other young guns that they haven't got a chance on varsity yet, but at our JV tournaments, they're starting to show some promise. Carter Boley, Ethan Zologowski, I think is how you say that name. Yeah, just a few of them definitely stepping up, and I'm excited to see where it goes. And I'm obviously talking to some people to help build for next year, but still focusing on this year at the same time.
Okay, thanks. Wade, if you have anything else for Cam, the floor is yours.
Yeah, Coach. Taking the team, the younger team that is, obviously you're not having the success you'd like to early on, but taking that team out to Vegas, what are you hoping to accomplish out with those 2 bigger tournaments?
With both those tournaments, one of the big things I like to accomplish is, like I said, is trying to figure out the momentum from Saturday into Sunday. I think they're proving themselves on Saturday now, so trying to figure out Sunday. Vegas, I think our teams have always had success in Vegas, so I don't want to put that pressure on them, but I think we have a good opportunity to make match play in Vegas. They do take a little bit more teams into match play, which I'm hoping we can make because then they can start getting that match play experience that they're going to need going forward. Yeah, just try not to I don't want to put that pressure on them, but that's kind of my expectations going into Vegas is really trying to clean up Sunday because Saturday they're starting to prove who they are. It's Sunday that the Baker games is where they really need to start entrusting themselves and each other. I think that's been the hard part.
Yeah. Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
All right, Sam, one last one. There's always one last one, and Coach Friesen has been very, very patient down there. So let's talk to Coach Friesen. He got his first meet under the belt last Saturday. So let's see what he thinks.
Yeah, thank you for being patient, Coach Friesen. But yeah, like Wade just alluded to, some great results from Saturday over in Davenport. Just how did you feel about the way that the team competed?
I really, going into the meet, was optimistically nervous because we have a lot of young kids. But at the end of the day, talking with Coach Z and Coach Drake, we thought that, under the circumstances that we competed very well. We had a lot of great performances. We had a lot of PRs. I think we're a little bit ahead of ourselves a little bit from last year, which is always a good sign. We'll find out more on Friday when we go to Central. But overall, we were very pleased with our results and how things turned out.
How do you think that this performance, like you said, of first and second between the men and the women, how do you feel that will set you guys up for success the next time you guys go out?
Well, I think on the men's side, they've come in with a lot of confidence, with our upperclassmen, and I think they felt like they could win. I think that's good going in, to this meet and then carrying off into Christmas break. But more importantly, I think it was a big boost of confidence for our women's side. That's the highest finish we've had since probably 2015 outdoor and our outdoor conference, that the girls, finished that high in kind of a scored meet. So they were excited, they were pumped, that's a good thing going into Christmas break, because I think now that they see what they can do, the workouts that we give them over Christmas, I think will be more intentional on their part, and they realize, that if they keep training and keep doing what they need to do, that we could do very, very well through the indoor season.
Now going to Central on Friday, just in a couple of days here. What's your read on the competition that you guys are going to be up against on Friday, and the chances that you guys have as far as delivering another good finish?
The competition, so there's going to be a couple of D3s. There's going to be a D2. Clark is going to be there. It's going to be a little smaller meet, I think. We're not going to take our distance crew. They really showed up on Saturday, but Coach Drake wants to kind of give them, kind of a little breather since they just got off a cross country season, which I totally understand. I think that's probably a good idea, so they can start kind of training for the rest of indoor. But I think, with the way our sprints and our throws and our jumps performed on the men's side, I think we have a good chance to probably do the same thing. On the women's side, we'll do well again on the sprints and the jumps. But since we're kind of taking a depleted squad, we'll probably finish, I don't know. It depends on who's in what event, because I know Central and Simpson will probably load up with their distance and mid distance, but we just want to improve on what we did last week. I mean, right now we're, in the conference. I kind of looked at the early conference ratings, and all our kids are, everyone that ran is in the top 10. So that either tells me one or two things. A lot of teams in the conference didn't have a meet that weekend, and they might have one this weekend. So this weekend will give us a better understanding of where we fit in the conference as far as the conference ratings go, as far as our athletes.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
Yeah.
If you have anything else, then go ahead.
Yeah, Coach. One down, a whole bunch left to go. After Saturday or Friday, excuse me, like you said, you're going to be having people in and out just with the end of the year and stuff. People, getting ready to go home for break. But moving forward into January, you hit it hard mid-January. I know we talked about this. You guys have a longer break than normal because of our school year now pushing back a year, or pushing back a week, excuse me. How is that going to impact the importance of the kids getting their work done during break on their own?
Oh, it'll definitely 100% increase the attention of they have to do their workouts over break, and we send them workouts kind of depending on where they're going, because we understand that not everybody's going to have a place to be on the track or do things. So we try to give them little alternate workouts. Like the throwers, the main thing for them is to keep doing their footwork and their drills. They don't need implements for that, and to keep lifting. And I know Coach Z has some sort of has a cross training for those athletes that are probably going up north and back east where they're not going to have a chance to get on the track, and he'll have track workouts for the kids going back down to Texas and California where they have a better opportunity to be out on the track. So it's always a concern for us, and I think it's a concern for every team at William Penn. When you have that little break, that's the concern. Are they, to have that intentional purpose to work out? But I think since we did as well as we did last week, I think that intention will be more prevalent on the team. We've got a good young group, and they really work hard, so I can see them continuing to do that.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, Sam, any final questions?
Nope, that's all I've got for today.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, coaches, everybody that's still on there. We will not have another press conference until after the new year, being that we are leaving school. All the athletes are off in the next couple days, so we will catch everybody back in 2023. But thank you so much, coaches. Thank you, Sam, for all the great questions as always. And everybody have a great holidays, and we will catch you next year. Go Statesmen.